the never-ending discussion. Which is better, PC or console? Is there even any better? Since I've started growing on YouTube, this is one of the questions that is most frequently asked. So often in fact that I am now sitting here making this very video. Consoles have been around for a very long time now. They've gotten popular at a time where using a PC required a lot more knowledge than it does today. Most people didn't even have a PC at home. Besides, compared to now, you couldn't do too much with a PC at home anyways. They were extremely expensive machines. That's where the gaming consoles came in. They didn't require any knowledge. Basically, just shove the CD or the cartridge in and you're good to go. And gaming consoles were much cheaper too. So what has changed from the past? Well, consoles and computers are generally a lot cheaper than before. The computer itself has developed from a luxury item to a necessity in today's everyday life. I am pretty sure that every single one of you has a computer or at least a laptop. It doesn't need to be powerful, but you do have one. Consoles, on the other hand, are completely separate. While they do have way more features than before, like watching Blu-rays or Netflix, it is really nothing that you could not do on PC. In most cases, however, it is still cheaper to just buy a console. It is also still a lot easier. All you really need to do is apply automatic updates. And since all Xboxes and PlayStations of the same generation are the same, you can pretty much guarantee that all games are gonna be running on your system. Therefore, I would argue that consoles are tailored towards the more lazy and casual market. There is no maintenance or any other complications. Just plug in and go. However, that comes with a huge downside. You cannot really customize your gaming console. Definitely not hardware-wise, but even in terms of software, game developers for some reason do not want you to change graphics settings, which would actually have convinced me to buy a console in the first place. But for some reason, gaming has always been about graphics. And especially today, game devs are very willing to sacrifice half their FPS to have a shinier looking game. I would very happily turn down the graphics and play on 720p if I can have 60 FPS instead of 30. Look, maybe I'm just spoiled, but I cannot bear to play games on 30 FPS anymore. It is so damn disappointing that so few console games let you play around a little bit with the settings. Come on, it's 2016! You should be able to handle this. But no, console gamers are held dumb. They almost never get the choice for any settings. If the developer says the game runs on 30, then it does run on 30 and there is no way around it. Today's key selling point for any video game is graphics. Doesn't seem to matter if the game runs like shit. Let's just call it cinematic 30 FPS. I can guarantee you that any game, it does not matter which, plays better in 60 FPS than it does on 30. Even Hearthstone plays better on 60 FPS. The difference between playing it on my phone and playing it on PC are basically day and night. So why should I feel the need to play a game on 30 FPS on console when I can have it run on 60 on my PC? The last time I bought a full price FPS on console was in like 2008 and it was Far Cry 2 for my Xbox 360. And I could not finish that game to save my life. It felt extremely unresponsive and I could simply not handle it. It was impossible to aim for me. I was already horrible on console aiming, but playing it in 30 made it 10 times worse. Besides, I couldn't change the FOV. So yeah, I've burned myself pretty hard with it, and I've learned from my mistakes. My family wasn't exactly rich back then, so having like 60 euros wasted hurt like a bitch. I spent more time actually researching what I was about to buy. I've played some older games for a while, until I got my hands on some money. I remember playing a bunch of Call of Duty 2 and 4. So after I've saved up a couple of €100, I actually bought a decent video card. So suddenly my games all looked fantastic. And they ran smooth as butter. I dropped console gaming altogether because I noticed I just have more choice on PC. Besides, especially for shooters, keyboard and mouse are just so much more accurate. That might change in the future though. There is rumors of mouse and keyboard support for consoles. But we are gonna have to wait and see. That's gonna completely screw up the balance in so many online games. It would basically just be a straight upgrade for anyone who bought this. The ultimate pay to win. It's nothing new though. On PC you can argue that a better mouse and keyboard improves your performance too. And fight sticks have been around for the longest time. Also, right now there is a couple of games that I just can't play on console. Because I don't have mouse and keyboard yet. No, I will not play an RTS or a MOBA with a controller. So I rather just stick to that control method. All that aside though, there is good reasons to buy and play on consoles. You wouldn't believe the number of people that buy a PlayStation or an Xbox just to play FIFA. I have met people like this and it makes perfect sense. Like, if you only enjoy playing one game, why would you build like $1,000 powerhouse? If you can just pick up a console for like 300 or 400, if you only want to play a few games, then you can still save a lot of money. Another argument that I hear from console gamers is that they don't want to sit in an office chair. I can get behind that too. I do agree that laying on the couch is way more comfortable. And guess how I play Dark Souls? I plug my Xbox controller with a 3-meter extension cord in, and then all I have to do is to turn on my TV, because any modern television can just be connected to your computer via HDMI. It is literally exactly the same. Another vital part of this discussion is exclusives. Why do we even have exclusives? I get it, back when consoles were new, they were all very, very different. I'm talking about the NES era. I can only assume that making a game for 3 different consoles and PC must have been very, very difficult and expensive. That is not so much the case anymore. Today it's just, hey, Microsoft gave me a ton of money, so we will only publish the game on their console. And that's all it comes down to. At least when we talk about AAAs. Indie games, not so much. A good example, and the only game that is exclusive that I really want to play, would be Bloodborne. But why should I buy a PlayStation 4 just for one game when I can play 1,000 similar ones on my high-end PC? And even then I have to play on 30 FPS. Of course there's some other games that I'm mildly interested in, like The Last of Us and God of War. No, I sunk all of my money into my PC. I am not gonna spend a shit ton of money on your console just to play that one game. And I am very, very sure that a lot of PC players with high-end PCs will agree with me when I say I am not buying a literal downgrade. What needs to happen that I buy another console is when I suddenly get stinking rich. If suddenly someone just gave me 1,000 euros. I would very certainly put them into my PC. Buy a 120Hz monitor, maybe even a 4K one, because I have seen gaming in 120 FPS and it looks absolutely amazing. I'm gonna make the bold prediction now that 120 FPS is not a thing on consoles in the near future. No, Sony and Microsoft instead go for 4K, so you can play your games at a cinematic 24 FPS, because the current gen consoles simply cannot handle more than that. Here's something that really surprised me when I tried it out for the first time. Multi-monitor setups. Guys, it is such a blessing. It's not that I play on multiple monitors at the same time, but just having that extra space and maybe just some YouTube video running in the background, or a stream. Or I remember when I started playing League of Legends and I had no clue what I'm doing. I just always had a guide open on my second monitor to check for item builds or skill order. Or to this day when I'm playing Kerbal Space Program or Feed the Beast, I just have a podcast open in the background. And I just glance over every now and then when they show something on the screen. I also want to leash out to some people. Every single time I see a Microsoft or Sony conference, I have to cringe and I actually want to kill myself. Not literally, obviously. When I hear Sony and Microsoft talk about how a game comes to Xbox or PlayStation first, or even a lifetime exclusive, that's not even the worst part about it. What really boggles my mind is that people are cheering for it. Yay, yay, the company that I like just fucked over not just the other company, but also all the gamers that are not playing on the console that I'm playing on. What? Why the fuck are you cheering? You should be booing. Yes, you are getting the game first, but you're not getting it first because they worked harder so you can get it first, but because literally they made the other platforms wait. I can assure you that 90% of the games this happens with are just done, but they just don't want to release them because they get a shit ton of money from that company. I can just not get my mind behind it, and if you are one of the people cheering, you should probably be thinking about what you are cheering at. I am only talking about third-party developers though. Not that you should be cheering at first or second-party developers either, but I can kind of get behind that. You've spent the money to make your game on your console, why spend the extra amount to port it over to a rivaling console and potentially strengthen it? But there finally seems to be light at the end of the tunnel. Sony has recently announced PlayStation Now, which means you can stream a lot of PlayStation games, even exclusives, onto your PC. How well that works in the end is questionable, I haven't tried it yet. It's a monthly subscription, but it is definitely a huge step into the right direction. Maybe someday we can play all games on all consoles. Xbox has done a similar thing
thing. It's called Xbox Play Anywhere and lets you play a lot of the newer games, even the exclusive ones, on PC too. As long as you run on Windows 10, that is. It looks like the console manufacturers have finally realized that the majority of people is like me and will not just buy a console if you already have the PC. And all they really do is lose a lot of sales, so why not just publish it on PC? Another reason why I prefer PC is pricing. Yes, consoles are cheaper if you only buy a few games, but if you are just patient enough to wait a few months for a sale, you can get games for ridiculously cheap prices. You can easily pick up some AAA titles off Steam for like $5 after a year. And if you buy the weekly Humble Bundle, you can get a couple of indies or just really old games for as cheap as $1. As far as I know, that doesn't happen too often with console games. So if you play a lot of different games, and you enjoy even playing some older games, then in the end PC is actually cheaper than console. Yes, the initial price is quite a bit higher, but you can save so much in the long term. And since in today's market you buy almost all games digitally, that goes for me at least, I don't even need to get up anymore and throw a new game in. I know you don't have to do that on all console games, and it's honestly just an extremely minor gripe. But nonetheless, it's just so much easier to sit and click around to change games. I have just brought up so many pro PC arguments. So why is there still so many console players even though it's not even cheaper for them anymore? There is one reason. Let's just call them uninformed parents. Basically what's happening is parents and grandparents are looking for a present for their kids. And most of the time they're a little bit old-fashioned and they just don't know what's good and what's not. They're simply not interested in gaming whatsoever. But they know what the kids today like. I'm gonna buy my grandson one of those Nintendos. And suddenly, little Jimmy has an Xbox. And all his friends probably have an Xbox too. So Jimmy plays Xbox all day with his friends. Which, by the way, I have no statistics here. I assume there's a lot more kids on consoles than on PC. Anyways, little Jimmy gets more games for his Xbox. And after his $60 title, his parents still don't realize that it would have probably been better to just let him play on PC. And neither does Jimmy, probably. He later finds out that PC and PlayStation have different games and have their perks. Does that mean they are better? No, that can't be. Little Jimmy and his family couldn't have made a mistake, could they? I mean, he spent all his birthday money on that. He can't be wrong. He didn't waste all of that money and bought the wrong console. And thus, a console fanboy was born. Now, this was just a really silly story, but I think it shows perfectly what is happening in the gaming world. There is multiple things that happened here. I have already chipped into this in my other video, What is Skill in Rainbow Six Siege? Humans are very prone to neglecting their own mistakes. I'm sure everyone did this at some point. Often you don't even try to convince your friends that you didn't make a mistake. You just try and tell it to yourself, so you don't feel as bad. I did this too, multiple times. But it actually makes me feel a lot better when I'm honest to myself. You might even be scared of change. I mean, your Xbox is working fine, why would I change to PC? Sometimes someone is just too scared for change, and they think they might do something wrong, or it's too complicated for them. Or they're scared that in the end it might be worse than what they have. Also, when you spend money on something, you're automatically biased towards it, and you're trying to defend yourself against anyone that says you spent your money wrong. And since you only surround yourself with friends that play on the same console and have the same thoughts, you never really get another trustworthy opinion on other things. I'm talking not just gaming here, this goes for everything. That works really well in politics too. You start not talking to people that have different opinions, basically just to reinforce your own. And I feel like a lot more people should be more open-minded. So I just talked about my reasons not to buy a console for like 13 minutes. So I did lie a little bit to you. I don't completely not play on consoles. I don't play on the two PC rivals, but I do have a Wii U. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think the Wii U is the perfect supplement for a PC. My main reason to use my Wii U is when I travel. Look, Nintendo, you've been really stupid. They've just been marketing the entire console wrong. Not everyone here has a Wii U. So it might surprise you that you can actually play most of the games just on the controller screen without a TV. So all you really need is a power plug. That even works with the old Wii games. The Wii U controller has a Wii controller receiver on top. I'm pretty sure they would have sold a lot more units if they would have just marketed it as, you can play your Nintendo and not steal daddy's TV time while he's watching football. That's how I use it mostly. My mom lives across the country, and when I visit her and she wants to watch some TV, I can just plug my Wii U in and play. But that's not the only reason reason, honestly. Also here bias comes into play. I've been playing on Nintendo consoles since I'm like 3. I've had all of Nintendo's home consoles, and the Legend of Zelda series are my favorite games of all time. I love playing Mario Kart and Smash Bros, and for me those games are enough to justify buying an entire console. But those games are exclusives to Nintendo. Let's be honest, I would probably not have bought the console if that wasn't the case. But Nintendo's always been an asshole like that. They've never released games anywhere else other than on their consoles, which again is understandable. It's their money and their games, why should they release it for their competitors? They just rely on people like me that are willing to spend the money just to play those Nintendo exclusives. I would much rather play Nintendo's games on PC, but I simply don't get the choice. Which, let's be honest, is just absolute bullshit. Alright, let's finish that topic. Just because you play on consoles doesn't make you a console peasant, and just because I said consoles are tailored towards more casual people doesn't make you a casual scrub. I do respect your opinion and choices, and I wish a lot more people would be open-minded like me, because this whole console wars and PC master race bullshit is just really toxic and childish behavior. I mean, I said the entire PC master race thing too, but I hope everyone understood that that was sarcasm. It's basically just a meme now. So let's all unite and just have fun together, because after all, we are the gaming master race. Until next time, see ya.